All right, we're gonna get started here. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for the virtual opening reception of a macro review of microplastics in our main gallery and online in our virtual exhibitions. I'm Amanda Gorsegner, the Vice President of the Atlantic Highlands Arts Council, and here with me this evening are several of our environmental partners on the project, as well as many of the artists with work on display in the gallery, along with some of the student participants as well. Before we get started, I'd just like to take a moment to thank our funders for tonight's program. This program is made possible in part by funds from Monmouth Arts, a partner of the New Jersey State Council on the Arts, and the Monmouth County Board of County Commissioners, as well as sponsored by the Cascade Environmental Organization. Now for a bit of housekeeping, we are recording tonight's program. So if you do not want to be recorded, please turn off your video and microphone. When you entered the meeting, you were muted. Please remain on mute until we open up the program for the Q&A portions throughout the program. This just helps to maintain the sound quality tonight. You may also type your questions into the chat box, and we'll make sure to ask them during the presentation tonight to the artists and to the presenters. If you haven't already done so, you can put your Zoom viewing option on speaker view to allow for the best image for tonight's program, and that's in the top right corner of your Zoom screen. For those of you who do not know about our organization, the Atlantic Highlands Arts Council is a nonprofit. We're located on First Avenue in downtown Atlantic Highlands. We're an all-volunteer organization, so I'd just like to say thank you to our board members, volunteers, membership, donors, and partners who all work so hard together to keep the building and gallery open and the programs running. The exhibits currently on display will be on view now through May 29th. We also have virtual exhibitions posted on our website, and we welcome everyone to stop by the gallery in person during our open gallery hours Tuesday through Sunday, and you can find those exact times located on our website. You'll also want to check out the amazing artwork in our two window displays by artist Danielle Austin and also Gary Weisner. We'll be releasing a brief interview with these artists in our next monthly newsletter. And for any accessibility requests for any of our upcoming programs, please do email us. And we have the email in the chat box as well. It's Atlantic Highlands Arts Council at gmail.com. So as we get started here, I'd just like to introduce and thank our 4 environmental partners on the project. We have the Plastic Wave Project, a nonprofit organization, husband and wife group, Come Get Your Trash, the Atlantic Highlands Elementary School Green Team, and the Borough of Atlantic Highlands Environmental Commission. Thank you so much to all of our partners for helping us realize this project. It's really awesome, and so many people have come together for it. It's really been amazing. So I just want to start off tonight by kicking things off, listening to a bit about microplastics, and these 4 environmental groups are going to give us a little bit of background if a representative could join us tonight on the call. So I'm going to start with Erica and Nadia. They're from the Plastic Wave Project. Hi guys, how are you?
Hi.
Wow.
I know, I'm going to spotlight you guys. And you have a presentation, right? Do you want to share that with us?
Yeah, sure.
Perfect.
Nadia, do you want me to share it, right?
Yes.
Okay. I apologize if there is some dialogue in the background. My daughter is petrified of being by herself, and so she's sitting right next to me, watching some videos. Okay.
All right. So we're Nadia and Erica. We're 2 of the 3 co-founders of the Plastic Wave Project. We're just missing our Vice President, Rita. She couldn't make it tonight, but she's here with us in spirit. And we're going to be opening the night up with just a few slides to kind of help introduce microplastics and who we are and the work that we're doing with microplastics. First off, I just want to thank the Atlantic Highlands Arts Council for asking us to be part of this beautiful and powerful exhibition. This is still a fairly new topic that we're just now really starting to dive into. So thank you for creating this to, help shine light on this important and invasive issue. For being as small as microplastics are, we know that it's having a large and negative environmental impact. Microplastic pollution is harming our environment, our wildlife, and even us humans. Microplastics can be found anywhere and everywhere. It's in the soil that we grow our food in, our drinking water, the food that we eat, and even the air that we breathe. Studies show that humans actually consume about a credit card size worth of microplastics weekly. So just to kind of talk about who we are, we're a small grassroots nonprofit organization. And our mission is to educate the public on the harmful effects plastic pollution has on our coastline and communities in hopes of creating healthy and plastic-free waterways. Next slide. We host educational outreach programs, beach cleanups. We've done art exhibitions in the past, actually with the Atlantic Highlands Arts Council. And our programs are intended to get individuals outdoors, connected to nature, and inspired to make waves in their own communities. We believe that helping individuals build a relationship with the ocean and nature is essential in getting people to care and want to take action. It's only when we love and connect with something do we understand the significance of protecting it.
Okay, so now I'm going to get to talk to you all about plastic, and specifically what we're all here today for, and that is to talk about microplastics. The general definition for microplastics is that they are small pieces of plastics that range from 1 micrometer to 5 millimeters. Kind of depends on the research that you're reading. Different people use different metric systems. Units, not metric systems. And just to give you a general idea of what microplastics are, is we have in this first photo here 2 jars that are filled with microplastics. And you'll notice that there are so many different types and shapes and forms and colors. And that's because there's so many different types of microplastics out there, and there's so many different sources of them. But in general, we like to categorize them into 2 separate categories: primary microplastics and secondary microplastics. Now, primary microplastics are basically microplastics that were generated by the manufacturer companies themselves for a specific purpose and this tiny size. Majority of us are familiar with things like fibers that are essentially made to come up with our clothing that's made out of synthetic material like nylon and polyester. In this photo here, this is Rita's hand. She's holding what is a handful of nurdles. These are basically what every single type of plastic starts off as. This is the raw material of plastic, and it's really hard to contain them. And so what happens is they end up spilling into our rivers, our waterways, and then ultimately ending up in our ocean. They are shipped all around the world in container ships in numbers as, even though they're tiny, they have such a massive problem in the environment. Now, another example of primary microplastics are glitter. That's another type. And then another one that we're not familiar with is tire dust. So over time, your tires are going to wear off. And so it's going to shed those tiny fibers, and that is essentially going to wash up and get into the ocean as well. Now, in terms of secondary microplastics, these are basically microplastics that are formed from the breakdown of larger items. So if you have a plastic bottle, it'll break down over time and get smaller and smaller and smaller until you pretty much can't see it with your naked eye. You're going to need like some kind of microscope in order to see it. Another thing is when you wash your clothes in the washing machine and it's made out of synthetic material like nylon and polyester, it's going to shed fibers. And so since our washing machines and our dryers, they don't have the filters to filter them out, they essentially get washed down into the drain and going directly into the environment as well. And so the biggest issue with plastic is that not only does it not go away, doesn't fully go away ever, it's also the fact that the plastic absorbs these toxins and harmful chemicals that are associated with them during the manufacture process. And so what happens when they're in the environment, fish will eat them, and then it slowly poisons the fish. And so there really is only 2 things that can happen, right, to that fish. It's either 1, it dies and then another fish eats it, and then that fish gets slowly poisoned as well, or we eat that fish. And so now we're trying to figure out, scientists are trying to figure out how exactly is that affecting us? How in terms of the chemicals, what's going on? Like Nadia said, this is a very new topic. It's scary, but it's something that we definitely need to figure out. 8 million tons of pieces of plastic enter our oceans every day. And that is macroplastics. Those are the big plastics. That is not including the microplastics. Now, once you add the microplastics to that, you can imagine that the ocean is just having so much plastic in it, and we need to do something about it.
Okay, so if you'd like to get involved with microplastic work, we have the Citizen Science program going on with two other nonprofits, Save Coastal Wildlife and Save Barnegat Bay. Basically, we're looking for volunteers to get out and sample the beaches for microplastics. How it works, volunteers go out 4 times a year, once for each season, and sample the beaches. We currently have about 25 to 30 different locations being sampled along the Jersey Shore, and we hope to see this expand as more individuals get involved. Our goals with this project is to basically monitor when and where microplastics are congregating, and also to just educate the public about microplastics and provide opportunity for all ages and backgrounds to get involved. If this is something that may sound interesting to you, please reach out to us. You can find our contact information and more about this program on our website. Thank you for having us today, and I hope you enjoy the show.
Thank you both so much. That was fantastic. It's really interesting to hear about glitter and tire dust. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's definitely one that actually brings a lot of people are just like in shock when they hear about that.
Wow. Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much for participating. And next, I know we have Kim and Kyle Harrigan on the line, and they are from Come Get Your Trash. I'm going to spotlight you guys. Hi, how's it going?
Hi.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your organization, and then we're going to share your video a little bit later?
Sure. So we started our Instagram by just started realizing how much plastic we've been using and how much is in the public. Just walking outside, we just started seeing it and we started picking it up, and we decided let's start an Instagram so we can get more people to see what's going on. And that's pretty much, we've been trying to educate more people about the problem, and then how can you fix it, and not fix it, but how can you be better in your own home. So that's what we've been trying to do.
Great. And later we're going to share your video, which is awesome. It's stop motion animation, and we're showing it in our gallery. We also have it on a private YouTube page, but if it's okay with you, we can put it on our Arts Council YouTube page as well. Okay, great. So
and that piggybacks on what Erica was saying about the fish and eating plastic. So that'll come into play with the video.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm going to turn it now to Mr. Blake Deacon. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Mr. Deacon is the chair of the Atlantic Highlands Environmental Commission.
Hi, everyone. I'm also joined by Linda Pinkroders, who's also on the Environmental Commission. So I'll keep it brief. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and learn from you. It was a great presentation earlier, and I'm looking forward to the stop motion video. I've been the chair of the Environmental Commission since January, so I'm still new to it, and I'm learning a lot about microplastics. I was not happy to learn that I may be eating a credit card worth of plastic a year. So that's the sort of thing that we are certainly, as an Environmental Commission, trying to aware other people in town about. Obviously, this is a major issue, and living along the water, we should be extra sensitive to it. Could we throw to Linda?
Sure. Let me just find her. There's a lot of people on the call.
Did you find me?
Not yet. Can you wave? Maybe that might help me.
Oh, I'm here. I think I'm here. Well, I can just speak.
Sure. Oh, there you are.
Thank you for inviting us. I'm Linda Pinkroders. I serve as waterfront steward for the Atlantic Highlands Environmental Commission, and I'm also the beach sweep captain for Clean Ocean Action in our town. And during our most recent beach sweeps, volunteers picked up over 7,900 pieces of trash off our local beach here, and 5,500 of those pieces were pieces of plastic. When I was tallying up the numbers, I couldn't believe how much plastic it was. So thank you for bringing us here and having us a part of the discussion.
Yeah, Clean Ocean Action is fantastic too. They, they're so busy, but they appreciated what we were doing here. And, we were able to help cross promote the beach sweeps as well that, Linda was there. She's talking about at the harbor was the cleanup on April 17th. I've been doing those cleanups for 21 years. And I remember the first time I went out and did a cleanup, it was the first time I felt like one person could really make a difference, because I saw how much I, as one person, collected off the beach in 4 hours. And I was just floored. Sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
we had over 150 volunteers. It was huge turnout. Volunteers showed up at, I think, 8:30, and by 10 o'clock, people were showing up and they couldn't find anything to pick up anymore. So it was a great feeling.
Yeah, tell them to come back the next day, right? When the tide comes back
Right.
in.
Exactly.
And then just lastly, the Environmental Commission meetings, are those open to the public, and how can people participate?
Yeah, absolutely. So our meetings are on the fourth Tuesday of every month. They're at 7:30 p.m. If you go to the Atlantic Highlands website at ahnj.com, you'll see an Environmental Commission link. We have been, and Linda can keep me honest, we've been running our meetings about an hour. So public comment is at the back end. And if you can bear to listen to us for an hour, we would love to hear from you at the back end of the meeting.
Great. Thank you so much. I've been to some meetings before, and they're really interesting, and you get to find out what's going on in town too, which is important. Thank you both for speaking. And I don't think we have Mr. Hensel on the line. So if not, Linda, I was wondering if you could just give a brief blurb about the Atlantic Highlands Elementary School Green Team and what that is.
I will try to. I joined the group because I was trying to link the Atlantic Highlands Green Team with the Atlantic Highlands Arts Council, because they were trying to earn some green team points for funding at school. And I figured I would reach out on Mr. Hensel's behalf and connect you guys. And I think children have submitted art at the gallery. I saw, I think, Riley Lanigan's picture. Yeah, that's all I know.
Well, thank you. That's fantastic. Yes. So all four of the partners' websites and information is also on our exhibits page as well. And that website is in the chat box. So you can link out to any of these groups through there. And we were allowed to post the Atlantic Highlands Elementary School Green Team. So there is a little sheet on there which has everyone's little photo. I think there's about 12 or 15 kids on the green team from 4th to 6th grade, which is awesome. And then there's student posters. We have about 25 of them in the gallery and like 200 of them, which are handed to Mr. Hensel and also virtually. So we're working on uploading every single one of them to our website as well. So thank you, Linda. I appreciate you speaking on behalf of both organizations. So now we are going to turn to a presentation that I have with the artists in the show. We have 14 artists from across New Jersey who participated in an open call we had, and they were selected to show their artwork in our main gallery as well. These are professional artists. So I'm going to share a presentation we put together to view their artwork. All right, can one person tell me if they can see that? Yes?
Yes.
Sure can.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to run through. Sorry, there's no music. Just wanted to thank our funders again. We have Monmouth Arts, who gets funding from the New Jersey State Council on the Arts, as well as the Monmouth County Board of County Commissioners, and Cascade Environmental Group sponsored as well tonight. Thank you so much to our sponsors and funders. Here's the jar that the Plastic Wave Project dropped off with microplastics they collected in one day from one sifting. I'm just going to scroll through these for now, and then we'll open things up to talk to our artists in a few minutes as well. All right. Next, I'm going to play the video. Ooh. Was everyone able to see the video? Yes, great. So that's about 1:08. While I have you guys, Kim and Kyle, do you want to just talk about your video now that we've shown it? And a little bit about stop motion. We'd love to hear the art behind it also.
Okay. Well, it was our first time actually doing stop motion. So we kind of just.
Well, I've done a little. I do video production, so I do a little bit of stop motion. I do a whole lot of stop motion, but essentially, what stop motion is you know, it's a bunch of still frames. So like with film, it's 24 frames per second. With stop motion, it's a lot less. And then basically, you're just stitching those files together to make motion.
Yeah.
So how long did it take to make this 1-minute film?
Well, I think, to be honest, most of it was thinking about, you know, making it, was it going to be super complex? Was it going to be, you know, thinking of the storyline?
Yeah.
Like, because at first, like the way my mind goes is it gets super complicated. And then it takes a while to do it. And then it actually took us a long time to actually find the microplastics, find all the different shapes, the colors. And it was actually took us a lot longer than we thought. I mean, there's a lot of it, but so collecting it took us, you know, quite a bit of time.
Yeah. And then putting it together wasn't too bad, but
well,
we kind of had to play around with it.
Setting it up, because everything, the lighting and everything can't change. So we have to set something up in our basement and make sure all the windows are blocked. Because if anything changes, any variance in lighting, it would play into it. So on the different days, you have to make sure nothing moved, because if anything moved, you have to reshoot everything because it would be off. So every time you moved an object, you know, Kim would move an object, I would take a picture, but you have to be very careful, because if you move anything, it would mess everything up. So it's just very tedious.
You know, that's interesting. I'm a painter myself, and when I do a still life, you know, I set it up in a spot and I have to make sure the natural light is the same every time I go back to it. So on cloudy days, I'm like, I can't paint that today. You know, I have to come back to it when the sun's hitting it at 11 a.m. so I can get the same. And then I have to close the door so all the cats stay out, right? Cats and children out for like, give me 3 weeks until I'm done painting this thing.
Yes, our dog kept wanting to come downstairs.
Yeah, so the first thing was set up the lighting and made sure nothing was going to change. So we found a place in the basement, blocked the windows from any daylight coming in. And then, you know, I do film production lighting, so I set up the lighting and then left it. And then we just made sure we didn't kick the lighting, because if you mess up the lighting at all, you just have to start the thing pretty much over, or try to find a way to cut it where it doesn't look jumpy, you know.
Well, this is great for your first time working together on stop motion. You know, you guys did a great job. And I like the length. I like these little short blips that, especially when it has a message, an environmental message, right? You need to be like short and sweet with like the message you're getting out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to show the whole cycle of the plastic, of how you're buying it, then you're throwing it out, and how it ends up in the water, then the animals eat it, and then we eat it. So it's really just a full circle. So
yeah, and so interesting, you know, it's exactly what Plastic Wave Project was talking about, you know, and here we are talking about microplastics and macroplastics.
Yes.
Great. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you kind of diving deeper into that for us. So that's in our gallery. It's on a loop. It's playing all the time when we're open, and then we will put it on our YouTube page as well. So you can go there and check it out. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
So what I'm going to do next real quick, there's one more thing I wanted to share to give you a peek at the student artwork that's in the show, because there were just so many submissions, and we could have a gallery full of just the student artwork. There were so many submissions. So let me share that, and then we can get down and dirty with our artists who are on the call. All right, so this is on our website. If you scroll to the bottom of our exhibits page, we posted a whole virtual exhibition with works that were submitted. So I'll let this scroll through just for a minute here so you can get an idea of how the students responded to microplastics. And this was open to all of the students. Originally, it was just open to the green team, and then Mr. Hensel opened it up to everybody, and he just got a huge response. Right, so I'm going to stop sharing for now. If you want to view the rest of them, please do visit our website, and you can scroll through, or you can just watch it do the automatic scroll here. So next, I would like to open things up to the professional artists that have the 14 artists with close to 30 works on display in the gallery. So I would say there's so many people on the call. If someone wants to open things up, maybe I can put Beth on the spot. She has the centerpiece, and she spent all day installing it. That's her pedestal, her everything she installed. Beth, do you want to unmute yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna spotlight you here. So do you want to just talk a little bit about your piece and then also the process behind it?
Sure. So the piece that I did, well, it was interesting because I was anticipating the piece I made is made out of acrylic, which is plastic. So I was sort of anticipating somebody asking me, and I kind of wanted to address this issue first really quickly. You know, why are you making something out of plastic? So I put a lot of thought into the materials that I use, and there's a combination of sustainability, the meaning behind the materials, and then just in terms of how long, I guess it falls into sustainability, but how long the materials will last. I've worked in bronze, wood, steel, I've done tons of welding. And the acrylic is one of the least toxic materials aside from wood that I've worked with. And wood uses, you know, the natural resources, which I didn't like. And the acrylic, believe it or not, is a very low amount of, I guess, leftover material when you sand it. It doesn't. For me, regarding steel, bronze, welding, even marble carving, which creates an incredible amount of dust, which I've done, the acrylic, I love it. It's the hardest material, one of the hardest materials I've ever worked with, like in terms of its, you know, its density. It's UV repellent. and it's transparent. So I've been doing work that has to do with light for the last 20 years. The stuff I used to do was very architectural, and I was building these big architectural pieces that I was then going to put these figures inside. So the fly that you see is really one of 200 flies from a larger piece that I'm doing. I actually chose to be in my studio so that you could also see other components. So the figure you see in the background is another piece, which will also be clear. And they all have their own internal vascular systems. And then the piece up here in the background is another figure. And then there's all these different body parts. And there are these giant pools of milk. So that fly is sitting on top of a pool of milk. And all of these pieces interact with each other. So it's a 5-part installation series. And each part builds upon the next. So the first part of the series has 2 adult females, 200 flies, and size flies. And then it has, what was it to say? 100 size flies. So, so I got distracted. I'm distracted now.
Sorry, people were asking to see the artwork while you were talking.
That's okay.
So I just wanted to share it.
I have ADHD. Everything distracts me.
Keep going. Yes.
I'm distracted by my own face. Anyway, so this is the fly that you're seeing here. That's the size of a mouse, and so there's 200 of those that are going to be in my installation. And the wings are all malleable. The vascular system that you see coming out of it is also internal. So each the meaning behind the work is, I mean, this is in a nutshell. Like I don't make work with a specific meaning. The works they come from dreams, and then I sort of then over time start to interpret the meaning of my dreams. It goes into my childhood and my life, and it's very autobiographical. The figures in the large installation, 2 of the females are me, and then it's other family members and other people that have kind of come into my life. I'd say that the gist of my work has to do with animals and humans, and how we're obviously animals. So it's that sort of bridge between how we different from other, how we're the same, and our survival instincts, and these sort of genetic components that manifest our sort of everyday behaviors, and that compounded with like our memory, how we see the future, how we live our lives, and how we interact with all these other creatures. And the pools of milk in the installation, there are these giant pools of milk, and the fly is sitting on top of one of them. And then this vascular system kind of comes out of the milk. The milk represents that sort of life force. And the reason that the fly is drinking the milk is it's a whole play on humans as being predator and prey at the same time. I think a lot about other animals and how we use them for our own sustenance, and a lot of it makes me extremely unhappy, and I'm a contributor to that as well. So I'm absolutely a hypocrite in my own philosophical torment over the way that we exist. So, and it's a way for me to work it out. So that's another long conversation, which I won't bore you with. But we all have our things. So anyway, so this figure in the background here, that's a life-size figure that is a female version of one of those bog figures that was found in the mud. And so this, in my installation, there is going to be different versions of me and all of these different animals, and they're all going to be sort of hybrids. There'll be mouse, cat, dog hybrids. There are going to be all these flies, but then there'll be fly hybrids of other animals. And then they're like this figure that you see in the background is a human cow hybrid. So she's got, this is actually, so there's a cow vertebrae coming out of her. And then she's going to have a giant vascular system coming out of her torso that turns into a giant fly's wing. So there's this repetitive thing with these vascular systems throughout my work. And there'll also be bringing in the whole ocean concept, which is really interesting. There's going to be probably 100 jellyfish that are a combination of the female cervix and jellyfish, which you can see on my website or Instagram page, what that will look like. And they're kind of going to be like washed up on shore. They'll look like as if they're in motion. So there's all these different animals included. And that was the first part of the ocean part I brought in. And that was actually a year ago. It's just that piece is done. So I didn't put that in the show or submit it to the show, I should say.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you have a very like complex project that's ongoing. And I would encourage everyone to check out Beth's work and all of our artists' work. The bios are uploaded on our website as well. And you can click through if anyone has listed a website or an Instagram account or anything like that. And we have a binder in the gallery too, listing all the bios and the press release and everything is there as well. Thank you, Beth. I'm going to jump over to another artist. Carla, I think I saw you on the call. Do you want to unmute yourself, Carla? Hi, how are you? Oh, we can't hear you. Do you want to try to change your audio setting? Looks like you're unmuted. We just can't hear you. Maybe if you want to look at your settings real quick under your sound, maybe I'll switch over to Cheryl. Cheryl, do you want to speak while we're waiting?
Oops. Hi. So first I want to thank the Atlantic Highlands Art Council for putting on this show and partnering with so many awesome partners that you've put together. And I also want to thank my company. I know you did, but I'd like to thank Cascade and Cascade Drilling and Cascade Remediation Services for helping to sponsor. So a little bit about my project. Fish don't need contact lenses to see, but I do. So I wear daily contact lenses that they're packaged in these little tabs that I used in my project. In the past, I used to save up those tabs and donate them to a grammar school, and they would use it for recycling, their recycling program. But since COVID, I haven't been able to donate the plastic tabs. And I don't know if you can find my piece, maybe, so I could, show a little bit about the plastic tabs that I'm talking about.
Yes, I was just trying to take it off scroll so it wouldn't keep scrolling.
So I used to donate them and I couldn't do that during COVID. So I just kept on saving them. And I saved so many of them. When I saw this project come about, the macro view of, it's a tongue twister, macro view of microplastics, I said, oh, this is a perfect way for me to use these little plastic tabs. So typically, you'll find me with a camera, not 3D art, because I'm a photographer. But when I saw this project come about, I thought, well, I'll take it a step further and make a 3D piece of art. So I came up with the idea of catching the plastic before it goes into the ocean. And that's the fishnet that I caught all those plastic tabs in. So that's my interpretation of trying to help catch the plastic before it reaches the ocean.
Nice. Thank you, Cheryl. And thank you so much Cheryl was instrumental in getting the sponsorship for us from her company. So it's really lovely. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Now I'm going to pick on Carla again. Let's see if Carla, she logged off and logged back on. Can you say something? Oh, we still can't hear you. That's okay. Carla, if you want to type anything into the chat box about your piece or your process, that would be great. And I'll make sure to read it to everybody. So I'm going to move on to another artist. Actually, if there are any kids on the call, I know it's getting close to bedtime. I know my daughter's here. She has a piece in the show. She responded to Mr. Hensel's request for students at school. He's the technology teacher. Let's see if Dottie's there. Hi, Dottie.
Hi.
Do you want to talk about your piece in the show?
Sure.
Sure. And what it is and maybe what it means to you, what microplastics might mean to you?
Okay. Microplastics are little pieces of plastic that are sprinkled in the ocean if you use plastic, which isn't good. If you use plastic, it will be sprinkled into the ocean always, and animals will always eat it and get very sick.
Yeah. And then what piece did you make? It's hanging up in the gallery. I don't have a single photo of it here to show everybody, but it's in that main photo collage of the gallery works. Can you describe your piece and what you did with it?
I made a piece that has the ocean with a lot of animals that are getting tangled in the litter and the sun that says recycle.
Thank you. And it's on cardboard, right? It's very colorful. Awesome. Thank you, Dottie. Don't see any other kids on this call. So I'm going to pass things over to Morgan. Are you there, Morgan? Do you want to unmute? Hi, how are you?
Hi.
I'm going to share again to find your piece here while you're talking. Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I wanted to thank the Arts Council. This is the first time I've done a piece to be in a gallery since high school. So I've been working as a full-time children's book illustrator and pet portrait artist for over a decade now. And so it was really, really cool as Atlantic Highlands residents to hear that this Art Council was doing this. This is something I feel very passionate about. My husband and I are vegans, so we try very hard never to buy plastic. But you know, there are some really good, yummy vegan products at Food Town that we just have to have. And so I keep those plastic empty food wrappers and butter and things like that, vegan butter. And I took those plastic and I created this character, Jersey Devil. I've done a few other paper mache little models of book characters I've done. There's one that you can, this way you can kind of see behind me. I did this one too. I just couldn't stomach the idea of any of the plastic being thrown away and then ending up in the ocean. I found out probably 2, maybe 3 years ago about how even when we think we're recycling things, like more often than not, it's getting put in the ocean anyway. And so ever since I found that out, I've just been hoarding single-use plastic in my garage because I can't think about it like getting out. And so when my friend Jordan Robinson, who's on this call, let me know about this amazing project you guys are doing, I thought it would be a great opportunity to create a little life figure of this character, this book character that I've been working on for a few years. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys so much.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the story of this character? Like, you sent me a little bio, right? It had a little background on him.
Yeah.
That was so cute.
I'm glad you think so. So she's very sassy. She's not very polite, but she's based on the myth of the New Jersey Devil. And I kind of got some of my inspiration from Figment. I don't know if any of you are Disney fans, but if anyone knows Figment, the Disney character who teaches kids all about imagination. So if you imagine Figment, but much less friendly, you're going to have the Jersey Devil. And she is living in New Jersey and she likes to bully and be mean, and she's not exactly a good neighbor to anybody. But one day she starts to discover the plastic in her environment and the pipelines and all the fracking and all the horrible things that humans are doing to her home. And so one day she decides to move to Atlantic Highlands. And so the story is essentially her learning how to be less of a bully and also at the same time helping humans learn how to better cope, how to better live amongst nature and how to honor the wonderful community that we live in here in Atlantic Highlands.
I love that story. Maybe we could do something in the future where you could read some of your books to the kids or to the public.
I would
I'd love to get more involved with you with your illustrations.
Yeah, I have to bring some books by to donate to the gallery. You guys will
Oh,
have
that'd be great.
I'm sitting
We'll
on
take your
great-
donations. We'll take them.
I'll drop them by.
Thank you, Morgan.
it.
So Morgan is a good segue to our friend Lisa Bagwell, who's also a hoarder of all things plastic. Hi, Lisa. Do you want to unmute yourself? Let's see if Lisa's there.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Can you
but
hear me?
We can't see you.
Because I have tape on my camera. I don't want
Sneaky.
the government watching. I don't know.
I do that too. That's fine.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about your pieces? So Lisa also has the Trash River installation as well as 2 works, and I'll share them right now. Go ahead, Lisa.
Yes. So this piece is it's a horseshoe crab, and I made a form out of cardboard. And I covered it with beach trash that I find and collect. I like to collect the cigar filter tips specifically, if you're all familiar with them. And then also the little drug vial lids I find of particular interest. And Q-tip swabs are my new favorite too. None of this is my favorite. You know that, right? But the small things I will amass them and use them for artwork because I think they make a powerful statement. People don't know what they are. They're surprised at how many of them there are, even when it is not much at all. So that's what this piece is made out of. Mostly there's straws in there too.
You know, I never knew how popular cigars were on the beach until I started to do the Clean Ocean Action sweeps. I don't know if Linda would agree that these cigar tips are just everywhere. They're crazy.
Yeah,
yeah.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah. Let me move to your other piece, your other sculpture here. This wacky one. Tell us about this one.
Yeah, so I make a lot of things out of many objects, and the tampon applicator is a very charged object. It's very loaded. And I just had got the idea to make a shark out of it one day. And then it was brought to my attention that Shark Week is a euphemism for when women are on their moon. We will put it that way, since there are children on the call. I don't know. Anyway, so I made this piece without knowing that. So it had this great double meaning. And this also features another charged object, which is the dental floss plastic thing to help you floss your teeth. There's a few of them in it. And this is a new item that some people need, which some people do apparently, but you find a lot of those on the beach now as well. I think they were a new item on the Clean Ocean Action beach cleanup list this year, if I'm not mistaken. So that's this piece.
You know what's frustrating about those? And when I saw this piece, it reminded me, so my daughter's 7, right? She was just on the call. She goes to the dentist, twice a year, and she comes back with the free samples of these. It's a little plastic baggie full of little plastic dental, flosses for kids. And she uses them once and throws it away. And I'm like, it's frustrating because you want them to have clean, healthy teeth and follow the doctor's instructions. But on the other hand, I don't want to buy these little pieces of plastic that we're going to use once and toss. So it's frustrating. These are part of the hard conundrums we deal with plastic in our lives. How much plastic and what kinds of plastics will we accept and why?
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about your trash river?
Yeah, so all of this is beach trash, and it was all collected on Sandy Hook on the bay side, primarily along Plum Island, Sod Banks, and the Chapel Beach. And it's bottle caps, straws, cigarette lighters, more of the filter tips, small plastics. I wish I was saving for a longer period of time, and I've used a lot of these materials already in other pieces. I was really happy to lay them all out on the floor like that. And so that's what this is. This is all beach trash, a lot of common objects like lighters and what are these shells for shotgun shells? Find a lot of those.
Yeah, why is that? I don't know if Linda wants to unmute too. Our beach captain here. You know, when I find those, I'm like, who's shooting out here? Or where's it coming from? Right.
Hunters?
Duck hunters, yeah, in the Navasink sometimes, or in the bay.
Oh.
Sometimes I like drive into the harbor and I see guys with ducks lined up in their pickup trucks. So I imagine that's where it's coming from.
Wow. I didn't even know that was legal over here.
You're also allowed to shoot while you're on the Navasink River. You're allowed to shoot from your boat up at ducks on the river, which is crazy.
Yes. Well, thank you, Lisa. Unfortunately, this is also really beautiful, the gallery. So, you know, as artists, we like to take these things and make them lovely, but it's also, you know, it helps to bring attention to it. It does make a really pretty rainbow. Thanks, Lisa.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye. So, Kristen, are you still on the call? Yes, you are. I am going to pick on you next. Hi, Kristen.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, I had trouble unmuting for a second. Hi.
Hi. So let me find your piece. I think it is this way.
Well, there it is.
There we go.
So basically, much like you, Amanda, I've been doing like the beach cleanups for like 21 years too, and like, you know, and it is sad, like Lisa said, the dental picks are like a new thing that were on the list this year. I did the Clean Ocean Action, and we're just still finding so much. And I do hoard some plastic items myself. And I've been trying to reduce the amount of plastic I use over the years and things like that. There are some instances where I might still have to use certain things, but they're long-term things that I pretty much don't have to get rid of, which is the only ones I try to use. But this piece in particular, basically, so there was a time where I had this, it was sort of like a commission. It was for something that actually never happened. It was supposed to be an exhibit a couple years back, and they were trying to get people to make things, to make pieces that were kind of made out of either leftovers or made out of things that weren't as toxic, like one of the other artists was talking about how acrylic is not as toxic, or natural objects. So this piece was one of the ideas I had, and I finally brought it to life. And it's been in a lot of different like environmental shows, because what it really is it's a piece that's made out of a bunch of different things. Some of them are not as toxic, materials, natural materials, leftover materials, recyclable materials, or materials that I didn't want to see like wind up in the ocean or a landfill, or such as the caps. So the caps are interesting. They're on the tree there. And the caps are from a specific green tea that I used to drink, and I can't drink it anymore. But I used to drink it, and the caps actually said green on them. And these caps always fascinated me, and I saved a bunch of them. I actually made something out of the bottles at one point too, because they were like a unique shape. But the caps, I was trying to figure out something to do with them. And when I did this piece, I wanted to salvage a bunch of them, and I still have a bunch of them, and use them for something, to create something that would be like long-standing, such as a piece of art, rather than having them be thrown out, recycled. Like one of the other artists said, you just can't stand to see that plastic go out somewhere, you know, so I've kept it. So I scratched the green off some of them and left it readable on others, and put "Go" on the other one, so that now the caps read "Go Green," which is the title of the piece. The other items in the piece are actually real rocks, some like paper stuff that made to look like grass. There's actually real rocks and sand. The tree itself is made out of leftover wood that I was using. And the paint that I used mostly in the piece is watercolor. I just figured that's a really natural, I mean, it does have some substance in it, but just mostly painting with water. So a little tiny bit of watered down acrylic. And then there's there's like paper magazine clippings that also make up the tree itself. And some of the words in it, if you get close enough to read it, they do have some either environmental meaning or just other meaning like to the piece. So I really tried to make the piece kind of like recyclable or environmentally friendly. But the piece itself is mainly, it's go green, but like it has like these plastic like in the tree, but it's sort of about plastic being, a lot of people are like go green, like, but they're still putting all this plastic out into the environment. So that's kind of what the plastic as part of the tree is about. But I was really happy to show it, and I'm really thankful to you guys for having it in the show, and for Plastic Wave Project and all of the partners for doing these types of shows, which raise awareness. I mean, for me, it combines a passion for the environment and art, like it brings that together. So I've just been a longstanding environmentalist and plastics pollution person myself. So this show, I feel like it really brings an important message.
Yeah, thank you, Kristen. Yeah, I agree.
You're welcome.
I would agree. I'm an environmental artist myself, and talking about materials, I play with materials all the time, and
yeah,
sometimes I'll use beet juice, right? I'll cook a nice batch of steamed beets, keep the lovely dark pigmented juice, and a nice dark roast coffee, and even turmeric, and kind of do paintings or watercolor.
That's great.
Put them on my canvas with it. However, years later,
and at times I do some of the plastic I use in my pieces, like much like Lisa, is actually stuff I found. I mean, these caps I already had, but I didn't want them. I didn't want to just throw them out. It was like I wanted to give them some kind of meaning and some kind of purpose. So.
Right. Yeah. But I think sometimes too, as artists, it's hard because years later, when I look at these pieces that I use these natural materials for, they're all moldy, and I can't sell it. It's hard to clean up. It's bad for me to keep in my house, with my daughter. So it's tough as artists. We have to sort of make compromises and figure things out. And,
it's very true.
Yeah. And I've banned cadmiums from my painting studio, but cadmiums are so beautiful and luscious, but they're so bad for you and bad for the environment.
Yeah. I mean, like there are certain materials that they really make a great statement artistically, but they are so like toxic to use in the same point. So I get that.
Yeah. Thank you, Kristen. I appreciate
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Nicole, I see you're on the call too. I'm going to spotlight you. Hi, how are you? You want to unmute yourself?
Hello.
I'm going to show your piece, and if you want to talk about it, that'd be great. Yeah, thank you.
So I largely like to do like multimedia things when possible. I like to take something that looks like it's going to be like cute and like aesthetically pleasing, but like add something into it that makes you go like, So in that I've added plastic bags onto the seascape. I add, and the bar in the background is was like a fallen telephone pole, and I've used pieces of bark from from branches that have come down in my backyard, and to like add the texture to it. So this has led me to also be a hoarder of many things, like all the other artists.
Right,
here.
I think we're all hoarders on this call.
Yeah, my car half the time looks like it's on the way to the dump because of like how many buckets of plastic there will be in it. The current thing that I'm trying to figure out how to do something art-wise is like prescription bottles, because they can't be recycled, at least like not locally, and they add up once you like, especially if you take monthly medications yourself,
right?
The amount of space that ends up taking up is obscene.
Right, and it's a really hard and thick plastic too. It's not sort of like thin, and yeah. I will say this piece too, you can't really tell here. It's actually rather large. It's 3 feet high by 1 foot wide. So if you get a chance to go to the gallery, you can kind of see it more up close with the texture of the paint there as well and all the different materials. Thank you, Nicole. I'm just going to scroll down this list real quick to see if there's anyone else. Are there any other artists that I didn't get to that are on the call? Feel free to unmute yourself.
I did speak already. This is Cheryl, but I just wanted to add one additional thing, and that is I reached out to the manufacturer of the contact lenses, and I haven't heard back from them yet, but I'm asking them to come up with a different solution, how to package the contact lenses so that they're not using all these plastic tabs. So I'll keep you informed if I hear back from them. And,
Yeah,
and
that's
that's
great.
something maybe the rest of us can do as well. We can reach out to the manufacturers of like the prescription bottles and different items, and maybe they can come up with different solutions to use this, instead of using plastic.
Yeah, these actionable steps I think are really important. You know, I'll put a pitch out there that I personally, you know, as a citizen, I'll make calls to the governor. I'll call my senator. I leave messages, you know, I write a statement and then I read it right off a script if I'm feeling nervous. And, you know, going to these rallies and protests and making your voice heard is really important. So thank you, Cheryl, for bringing that point up. So I see Kathy just got on the call. Kathy, if you're there, feel free to unmute yourself. You're our last artist here if you want to say something about your piece. She might be on a phone. Let me just show Kathy's piece though for a second here as we're winding down. And then I'm just going to open things up to the public. If there's any questions from anyone, I'd welcome you to unmute yourself and to ask questions to the presenters or to the artists directly. Feel free to shout out loud. No, we've already been talking for over an hour. No one has any questions.
Amanda, I see Carla typing something. I think she was trying to tell us something about her piece, but I'm not sure. She's the one that couldn't get the sound working.
Oh, great. Let's see. Okay. Oh, thank you. Carla says, briefly, the plastic hanging sculpture began as an homage to Dale Chihuly. Plastic bottles were a natural and much lighter alternative to glass. She recruited students at her school to save and paint bottles for a very large scale project. This was a sample for a larger sculpture. And then I'll show these two pieces in just one second. Her other piece is a recycled cardboard mosaic created from cereal boxes, cracker boxes, tissue boxes. They cut very well into tesserae, and the colors are very beautiful since packaging is meant to appeal to the eye. All of this packaging came from her house. All right, so let me just share that so we can see the two pieces. This is Kathy's piece. She just joined our call a second ago. Here's one of Carla's pieces. This was the recycled cereal boxes and cardboard packaging she's talking about. This is a very large piece also, 40 inches by 30 inches. It's very textural too. If you get a chance to go to the gallery, this piece is really stunning. And then I'll just show her second piece she was talking about here as well. This is hanging from the ceiling, again, very large, 3 feet long. And it's beautiful with the spotlights hitting it. It shines through. So I'll just give one more chance here if anyone wants to jump in with a question or a comment.
I had one, just everybody was talking about like people are vegans, people are vegetarians. It just made me, when somebody talking about the Nicole was talking about all the plastic. Was it you, Nicole? of that you're saving for the bottles. I started doing this thing where I was collecting I've been doing this for like 3 months now, where I'm collecting all the plastic every week, like from every single thing that comes into my house, like food, blah, blah, blah. And I'm curious if anybody knows the answer to this. It doesn't get recycled, obviously. I've been putting it into one bag, and then, which is obviously another plastic edition, but duct taping it so that it's basically every single week I have a dumbbell of plastic. I've tried buying less plastic and everything possible, and I still, at the end of the week, then it'll float to shore, versus it can't. The duct tape is so durable. That's the only solution I can think of to do with all of these plastic components, other than burying it in my own yard. Like it's a very interesting like problem. Like
Kimberly,
I'm just not even trying to. I'm just curious how people feel about that, because people started talking about how they were living their lives a little bit. I left that part out. I don't know if anyone has anything to say about that. That's a lot of plastic.
I will say, Kimberly Harrigan from Come Get Your Trash put in the chat box, don't forget about TerraCycles. So, right, we could, they take more of different kinds of plastics. I've noticed recently, they're kind of maybe expanding what they'll accept back. So that's one company that does take your plastics back after you've used them. Does anyone else want to chime in?
Yeah, you have to go on the website and you have to subscribe to, so I'll show you all different types of things. There's shampoo brands like Acure, and then there's actually some contact lenses. I don't think I have that one, but I might switch to that one so I can recycle it. But you have to look on the website and then you subscribe to that specific one and then you mail it back. And also another one that's great is Ilia. It's cruelty-free vegan makeup. You don't actually have to have their makeup specifically. I do use a lot of their makeup, but you can mail back your makeup you can pick 5 containers of your empty makeup and send it back to them a month. So that's another great thing you can do.
This is more of an issue of the things that come into our house, not these specialty items, but when you go to the grocery fingers or vegan patties, whatever it is, that all comes in plastic. There is so much plastic just from grocery shopping. And that's all that plastic, like that's the kind of plastic I'm talking about, where it feels like there's
like
no
the
home
plastic
for it.
bag wrappings.
All of the, like everything in that category. It's clothing, like stuff that there's no home for it. That's the stuff that just disintegrates into the ocean as well.
There are a lot of nonprofit organizations that they each do their own thing. Like there's you can find one person that you can send old crayons to and they'll melt them down and make new ones out of it. There's other ones that you can send old markers to. Another one, I think there's actually a place that I can send the prescription bottles and they'll be used for like vet visits. So it's all compartmentalized right now, as far as I know. And the only way that I've really found to deal with it is just find any way to give it like a second life. Like my summer job is a marine science camp. So I'm working with kids and we're talking about how all the ways that, the ocean's great, and why these things matter. And we have activities about why to help drill in what's going on. So I take some of the single-use plastics that I've gathered over the year, and we'll use it for either activities, for storage, or I did with the kids making these mini sea turtles out of 3 plastic bags each. So parents came and donated them. I got them from Kohl's because you can go to recycle them there. And so giving the kids that they had another, things that just had another life, like you can make bird feeders out of water bottles and such, and we would do that as well. And so it helps, you're not just throwing it away, you're giving someone like a memory, I guess. And that's been the only like feasible way that's anything's going on for me right now to
Yeah, I remember I used to always save my number 5 plastics separately, and Whole Foods would take them just in a little bin by the exit. I would put my number 5 plastics, but since COVID, right, haven't been doing that because I haven't been going to the store. We're still doing curbside pickup. So
I can relate to what you're saying about giving things a second life, because I also worked with children. I've taught like preschool for like years. I'm not currently, I still work with kids, but different facet. But I taught preschool, like I'm talking like 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And we used to try in the classroom to give things a new life. So the wipe containers, the plastic wipe containers that kids' wipes came in, we would clean them out. And for Earth Week, we'd use them as planters. And we'd make little classroom gardens out of them, and like we'd plant things in them. And we used to cut up the tissue boxes and make collages out of them. And like we would, just anything. The cardboard tubes became kaleidoscopes and wind chimes and like anything, like, to, like she was saying, to give it a second life. And I actually was, I'm a children's book illustrator also, but not published at the moment. And I was trying to figure out how to incorporate some things in my illustrations to give it like a second life. So like Carla was doing with the cereal boxes. That piece is so beautiful, and it's made out of cereal boxes, and it's amazing. So I started doing the same thing with tissue boxes because they have such neat like patterns on them. So I had a piece show earlier in the year that I was trying to get as an illustration for something, but it's such a hard to get your foot in the door. But the ocean in the piece and the beach were made out of cut up tissue boxes. And part of the animals were too. Their shells were made out of tissue boxes. And like, you have to look really close. And my one friend was like, you've been hoarding these tissue boxes. Like she kept wondering why I would flatten them and save them. And then she came to the show and she was like, that's what you're using them for. And she was like, she didn't even recognize them at first. She's like, that's amazing, and they very color fast. Like I haven't had any of them fade. So I appreciate what you're saying about just like trying to give things a second life, I guess, like you can do it. And the kids, it's fun because you can make things out of them. And like, they love making things out of the bottle caps. We made animals out of them and like different things like that. It is a memory. Some of them keep them for a very long time. So, that's another way to give it another purpose.
thank you, Kristen. Yeah, I think on that positive note, maybe we can wrap up our call today. We are going a bit over time here. Thank you all for joining us. I really appreciate all of the environmental groups that spoke, and all of the artists, all of the kids involved, everyone who came together for this project. And hopefully we can do it once a year, right? Let's all get together and clean the beaches and have these conversations and get the whole community involved. That was really the whole point of this, is to really reach out, not just to artists and arts groups, but to non-artists, and kind of broaden this conversation so we can all talk about our perspectives and our actions and what we can do to help each other. Thank you all so much. Please come to the gallery, check it out, and check out the website and the student work, which will just melt your heart.
Are you going to tell us the hours of operation of the gallery?
Sure, you can visit our website. It's in the chat box as well. Let me see. We popped it in the chat box early on. The gallery is open Tuesday, 3 to 6, Wednesday and Thursday, 1 to 6, Friday, 1 to 7, Saturday, 10 to 7, and Sunday, 11 to 3.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
Amanda.
Thank you.